On today's show, a review of yesterday's pre-tournament matchup between Team USA and Team Sweden, with lineup breakdowns and tournament predictions for each team, all coming up on Locked On NHL Prospects.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this podcast, I break down everything prospects related for you 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I'm Hadi Kalikesh. I'm a scout and prospect analyst across multiple platforms, including this one. And I've got a good show for you today. We're going to start by breaking down yesterday's World Juniors pre-tournament game between Team USA and Team Sweden. In the first segment, I'll start by dissecting the scores and events of the game itself, sort of breaking down what happened, in order of progression, and then we'll look at Team USA's lines and predictions for the tournament for our second segment, and then in our third segment, we'll take a look at Team Sweden's side of things. Now, before we get into any of that, just remember to like and subscribe if you like what you're listening to. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you're following along on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure to make us your first listen of the day. It is always very much appreciated. So let's get right into it now. This wasn't a close game at all between Team USA and Team Sweden. USA ended up winning this 5-1. And, this is not a knock on Team Sweden's roster. It's an extremely good roster, especially offensively. But that just speaks to the quality of this Team USA roster. I mean, the amount of quality they have in that lineup is outstanding, and that's really what got them through this is individual skill, the difference of skill between Sweden's forwards and USA's forwards. Same thing for defense. I don't think netminding had a lot to do in this game. It was mainly, I think, the defensive differences between those two teams that really made the score so egregiously skewed towards Team USA. Now, let's start with the score here. So midway through the first period, that's when the first goal occurred. It was a Team USA goal. Red Wings fourth round pick, Red Savage. He makes a really, really good defensive play at his own blue line. Then he chips the puck into the middle of the ice, close to the offensive zone. And who else but Luke Hughes to activate offensively from the defensive side of things and just make a beeline for that puck. He races everyone to it. Skates into open ice, gets a partial break, and flips it over the netminder for USA to make it 1-0. Now, we're going to see a lot of this from Luke Hughes in this tournament. He's probably the best skater outside of the NHL right now, and his top speed is genuinely insane. He isn't shy about skating into open ice either. He's not shy about sort of activating offensively and making himself an option off the rush. So that's really what earned him this goal here, and I think that's going to be a staple of his game moving forward in this tournament. We're going to see a lot of activation from him. I think that Team USA is going to try to push their defensemen to activate up the ice and make plays in the offensive zone. Then about 3 minutes before the end of the first period, Sweden gets a power play, and Fabian Lysell, Boston Bruins first round pick from a couple drafts ago, finishes off a great passing play with a one-timer from the left dot to make it 1-1. Now, he's got a great shot, and I've always liked his shot since his draft year, and it's really great to see him sort of utilize it a bit more, because the one concern I had with this game in his draft year was his shot selection was a bit off. He would either shoot from random areas or he would try to pass when he's got a really, really decent shot opportunity in front of him. So it was really great to see this sort of utilization of a shot in this scenario, and also his ability to move off the puck to close down on the net and get chances that are higher end. Without his off puck movement, I don't think that goal happens. But I want to shout out Minnesota first round pick Liam Ögren, who showed really, really good patience down low. He got a puck, he got a pass from his teammate near the net, and he outweighted the defensive box in order to open up a passing lane, and he just feathered a little saucer pass above his stick, right on Fabian Lysell's stick. So that was a really, really good play from him. I really enjoyed Ögren in this game. I think he was the better of the three Djurgårdens prospects who were drafted in the first round of the 2022 draft. We'll get to that in a sec. But then at the start of the second, though, Gavin Brindley, who is a 2023 NHL draft eligible, he just showed his typical sort of playmaking savvy and intelligence. He got a pass near the left dot and was able to hang onto the puck and look off his pass. So he was looking to his right, towards the point as if he was going to pass it to the point, presenting a stick that way as well. Then he hooked the pass right into Kenny Connor's path across ice for a wide open net. That came on a turnover off of Swedish defenseman Ludvig Jansson's stick. So that was a really good play from him. He played extremely well in this game, Gavin Brindley. I really liked what he showed in this game. He was the best player on that fourth line for Team USA, which is composed of Kenny Connors and Charlie Stramel as well to his left. He has so much smarts on the puck. He really knows how to throw his opponents off course with his eyes and his body language, and that's sort of what earned him the goal in this specific instance. Then Team USA goes shorthanded, but there was this weird thing that Team USA did on that penalty kill. They played three defensemen and one forward. Luke Middlestat was playing a bit higher up than the two defensemen that were back down, but they were sort of defending as a diamond. So instead of being sort of 2-2, front to back, it was sort of a 1-2-1 formation on defense with Middlestat, I believe, on the left side. A puck breaks loose in the neutral zone. Luke Middlestat makes a beeline for it, and Charlie Stramel, who was the sole forward on that penalty killing situation, joins him on the rush. Middlestat finds him cross ice. Charlie Stramel hits a one timer in the back of the net. He doesn't miss those opportunities. So that was 3-1 USA as quick as that. It was interesting to see how this sort of penalty killing scenario actually benefited them offensively. To have three guys who are really good at blocking shots, really good at clearing pucks on that penalty kill actually gave them the opportunity there. And then finally, with 5 minutes left in the second period, Logan Cooley breaks into the offensive zone. He carries a puck towards the middle and drops it off to who else but Lane Hutson, who's streaking into the offensive zone to offer support. Hudson dekes to the backhand, goes near the net, and plays a perfect no-look pass right onto a wide-open Cutter Gauthier stick, and he just taps it into the net. And that's 4-1 Team USA. Now, Lane Hudson was absolutely fantastic in this game. I really liked the offensive skill set he had. Now, we didn't get a lot of chances to showcase that because both teams were taking a lot of penalties. And to my knowledge, I don't think that Lane Hudson was playing on the power play. So we got most of his opportunities at 5-on-5. So not a lot of ice time for him, but he did really well with the ice time he had, carried pucks up the ice, activated offensively, the great dekes, the great passing. We know all that with Hudson. And then as for the final goal of the game, Jimmy Snuggerud gets a puck at the top of the left half circle, sets it in his hip pocket and just snipes a wrister off the post and in on the power play to make it 5-1 USA. And that's how the game ended. Now the shots were 34-16 for Team USA. Caden Mberico only had to make 15 saves, so I can't really speak to the goaltending. I don't think it was really decent in either direction. Mberico wasn't really challenged enough for me to sort of discuss him and his game in this match. But on Sweden's side of things, they were getting shelled in, a lot of high danger chances against all that stuff. Not much that their netminder could do either. Now Sweden again played well, but USA was just too dominant. The amount of individual skill that they have offensively, defensively, in transition, they just had too much of that individual talent for Sweden to be able to create momentum at all in this game. All four of the lines for Team USA played really well. And it really made a show of this game. I think that they are setting themselves up as one of the two favorites in this tournament after Team Canada. That's it for the breakdown of the game itself and what occurred. Now we're going to go into the lineups for Team USA and my predictions for them at this tournament right after these messages.
Do you like betting? BetOnline.net is your number one source for any wager that interests you. From the NFL to the NBA to the MLB, and even NCAA football, UFC, golf, anything you like, they have you covered. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game on their website or app. They're, of course, a great source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting, so you can keep up with bets as they unfold. They've got up to the minute scores for every sport out there. They're the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts.
All right, so moving on to Team USA's lineup, and then we'll look at some predictions that I have for them. So starting with the lineup itself, let's start at forward here. Their first line was Cutter Gauthier, Logan Cooley, and Jimmy Snuggerud. So in Gauthier, they've got a top 5 pick in this last draft, Philadelphia 5th overall pick. Logan Cooley, who was obviously the 3rd overall pick of the Arizona Coyotes, and Jimmy Snuggerud, who was a first-round pick of the St. Louis Blues later on in the draft. Now, these three have been playing together for the longest time. I don't think they've really been separated for long, going back to probably their U18 season, so the year before they were drafted. They've been playing together consistently at the U17 level for Team USA as NTDP. They've been playing, together at the U18 level and at the USHL level. So a lot of experience playing together. They complement each other very well. And Cooley, you've got a very crafty, very skilled, very dynamic playmaker, a pivot who can find both of his wingers anywhere on the ice. In Cutter Gauthier, you've got a guy who can drive transition play really well. He's got great skating. He drops the shoulder, drives the net, and finds space off the puck really well. And Snuggerud's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He's good defensively. He can make passes really well. He can shoot the lights out. A lot of levels to his game. He was one of those guys that, if you can plug him anywhere in the lineup, he's got pretty much guaranteed middle six forward potential. So I think he's going to be a very, very good player for St. Louis moving forward. So yeah, that's their first line. They work well together. They're a proven product. Have done great things together at every level. So no doubt about that being a good line. Moving on to the second line for Team USA, we've got Rutger McGroarty at left wing, Chaz Lucius at center, and Jackson Blake at right wing. Now Jackson Blake, for me, I've haven't been able to catch many games of his. I've watched maybe a game or two since this draft year. He plays for the University of North Dakota, which isn't a team that gets a lot of draft eligible prospects and doesn't really get a lot of prospects that I follow, closely, other than Jake Sanderson, who played for them for a while. But his era and Jackson Blake's era sort of slightly overlapped, I believe, for a year. But I was mainly focused on the defensive side of things while watching Jake Sanderson, not really looking at the forwards and checking out Jackson Blake. So I really liked what he gave in this match. He was offering pace, he was offering forechecking effort, was winning pucks back for that second line. And Chaz Lucius and Rutger McGroarty are the types of guys who really excel with players who are going to be able to do the dirty work for them. So to have that winger on their line really helps those two, find the open space, benefit from loose pucks, and cycle plays really well. Rutger McGroarty is a really good shooter. Chaz Lucius is a really good passer, but who can also shoot. So yeah, they've gelled really well together. They didn't offer much offense in this game. I think the second line was pretty quiet offensively, but they were decent. I believe there were 11 players in this U.S. roster who at least earned a point. So a lot of players involved here. Then we go to the third line. It's Dylan Duke at left wing, Red Savage at center, and Tyler Boucher at right wing. Now, Tyler Boucher, 10th overall pick of the Ottawa Senators in 2021. Red Savage, he was a 4th-round pick of the Detroit Red Wings. And Dylan Duke, who was, I believe, a 4th-round pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Red Savage is a defensive pivot on this roster. If you have a face-off in your own zone, if you've got a penalty kill to take care of, you send out Red Savage. He's going to take care of business. He was the assistant captain in this game. Dylan Duke beside him is really the goal scorer on that line. He's another guy who can shoot the lights out. Yeah, Tyler Boucher on top of that, because both of those guys are undersized. Savage is 5'11", Dylan Duke is 5'10". So you add that big physical presence in Tyler Boucher, who can also score, and that's pretty good. I believe that Red Savage was a shining star on that line. I didn't really see anything from Dylan Duke or Tyler Boucher that really jumped out at me in terms of their skill set. So, Red Savage got a point on that Luke Hughes goal, that first goal of the game. And it was due to his defensive acumen, his understanding of his surroundings, and his understanding of open space. He was able to push a puck into the space that Luke Hughes was going to occupy, not the space that he was currently occupying. For me, that's a sense of hockey sense. I think the Red Wings have a really good pick in Red Savage here. And then finally, we've got the fourth line in Kenny Connors, Charlie Stramel, and Gavin Brindley. We've got two 2023 NHL draft eligibles on this line in Stramel and Brindley. Now, those two were working really well together. For me, Charlie Stramel doesn't have the best skating, so you leave that area of the game to Gavin Brindley, who has a really good skating stride of, very high top speed, very shifty, very agile. And you add Kenny Connors to that line, who's a hard worker, who, goes to the dirty areas, makes the ice more easy to navigate for those two 2023s. Connors was a really good complement to that line, but for me, Gavin Brindley was the best out of the three, and was really the pivot that was making things happen on a regular basis on that line. So that's for the forwards. Now, again, I believe that Logan Cooley first line is going to be one of the best first lines in this tournament. I really believe in what they're going to be able to do in this tournament. So it'll be exciting to see how far they bring that level of play as they move forward in this tournament. Then we go to the defense. The first pair was Jack Pert and Luke Hughes. I was surprised to see Jack Pert on this first pair, but he's been really good for St. Cloud State. And Luke Hughes is the captain of this team. He's their shining diamond, the one guy that you can trust with any scenario, the one guy that you can trust to give you the same thing every night, which is offensive activations, really good puck skills, a lot of speed and agility on both going up and going down the ice. He's going to really give you a lot in terms of offense and is going to be able to do a good job defensively. You add on top of that Jack Purd, who's a really safe defender, but who's also got some of that puck skill that will complement Luke Hughes and allow him to move pucks up the ice quickly. He's the type of guy who always makes a solid D to D pass. Doesn't need a lot of time or space in order to make the right play. He's able to play pucks through sticks, through skates. I think that's really going to help Luke Hughes break out pucks with the skating more often. And then the second pair, and this is a pairing I really like and I've talked about before, Lane Hudson and Ryan Chesley. I believe these two played together on the NTDP as well in both of their draft years, which was last season. Chesley is a defensive stay-at-home defenseman. He is going to shut down the rush. He's going to prevent the opposing team from being able to set up offensively. And Lane Hudson is just a rover. He's just a machine offensively. He can give you so much hockey sense and puck skills. He's going to dangle players in the offensive zone and just wreak havoc offensively for your team, while Chesley acts as a sort of stopgap for him and prevents anything bad from happening if Hudson mistimes a rush, if Hudson loses the puck, or gets skated around, which are entirely realistic possibilities in his case. And then finally, the third pair for Team USA is Sean Behrens and Ryan Ufko. I like this pairing mainly because Ufko does have some offensive skill to him. He's mainly sort of a passer. I really like his passing game. You add to that Sean Behrens, who might not offer as much offense as Ufko, but is probably a better defender and a more physical player. They're about the same size and weight. But for me, Behrens he defends like he's 6'4". The amount of physicality that he shows on a regular basis, he doesn't hesitate to go into corners. He wins a lot of his puck battles and does a great job of that. And then as a seventh defenseman in this game, we had Luke Middlestat and we have Seamus Casey as an eighth defenseman. Now, I believe that Seamus Casey is going to get an opportunity at some point in the top six. Luke Middlestat was good in this game as well, especially on the penalty kill. He got that assist on the Charlie Stramel goal. So he's been shown to be dependable, but I think that Casey is more likely to make his way into the top six. Speaking of which, the extra forwards for Team USA were Noah Leba and Sam Lipkin. I don't really have much to say about either of those guys. I haven't watched much of either, but I'm sure they're going to get into the rotation during this pre-tournament slate, and if they impress, they'll stick. But I'm pretty sure that USA is comfortable with their top 12 as it is right now at forward. And then the goaltenders, we had Caden Mbarico in net, and Trey Augustine played last game. He's a draft eligible who is putting up amazing numbers for Team USA at the NTDP level, and he's probably going to get his opportunity. Now, I wanted to go into some predictions for this tournament, some things that I think are likely to happen. Now, for me, Carter Gauthier, Logan Cooley, and Jimmy Snuggerud are going to play the entire tournament together and run the show for Team USA. I think that goes without saying, but that's still a prediction of mine. Then we have Gavin Brindley and Charlie Stramel, who I think will both move up to play on the third line with Dylan Duke. So I think that Tyler Boucher and Brett Savage move down. It's not a knock on Savage. It's not a knock on Boucher. I just think that both of them are going to be able to play together well enough that they're going to be paired with a high-end sniper in Dylan Duke. But I like them where they are as well. Their chemistry with Kenny Carners has been pretty good, but I think they're going to impress enough to move up a line. Another prediction of mine is I think that Sean Behrens and Seamus Casey are going to be playing over Ryan Ufko and Luke Middlestat. Now, this is just a gut feeling. I like Seamus Casey's offensive input. I really like what Sean Behrens does defensively off the rush and physically in his own zone. And I think those two are going to complement each other really well. So I think Casey does get a shot in the top six, and I think that starts with Sean Behrens. I don't know if Casey's going to move up to the second pair or first pair because I think that top four is pretty much locked in. But I think he gets a shot next to Sean Behrens, shows what he's able to do, and those two stay as the third pair for Team USA moving forward. And then finally, my prediction for Team USA overall, I think they take the silver medal. I think they're going to lose the final to Team Canada. Connor Bedard, Adam Fantilli, Logan Stankoven, Dylan Gunther, Brendan Othman, the list goes on and on offensively. I really like that first line for Team USA, but I don't think they can compete with the amount of firepower that's on that Canadian team. The amount of defensive acumen they've got as well. They've got multiple defensive defensemen that are going to do a good job in this tournament of shutting down the types of forwards that are on Team USA. So I'm predicting a silver medal for Team USA. Now that's it for my lineup breakdown and predictions for Team USA, and we're going to go into the same thing essentially for Team Sweden right after these messages.
So let me paint a picture for you. You're hanging out with your friends, you're watching the World Junior Championship, having a blast. You're putting back a couple of drinks, and as the evening goes on, a few drinks become too many, and then you think of calling for a ride. But you live nearby, you can make it home okay. It's not that big of a deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everybody knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads, is to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. If it only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over.
All right, so for our final segment of this episode, I wanted to break down the lineup for Team Sweden in this game, how that goes up moving forward, and I'll be giving you some predictions for Team Sweden for this tournament. So first and foremost, we'll start with the first line for Team Sweden at forward. Now we've got at left wing Isaac Rosén, at center Victor Kranborg, and at right wing we've got Fabian Lysell. Now, if the name I just mentioned at center doesn't really ring a bell, it's because the spelling is very different than the pronunciation. It's spelled Stjernborg. He is a fourth round pick of the Chicago Blackhawks. He was drafted in the hundreds, but he's been really, really good. But it's pronounced Kranborg. He has been playing in the SHL and doing a really good job. Now, I did like what I saw from Kranborg in this game, but I think that his line was severely limited by being matched up to the Logan Cooley line. They were sort of overblown offensively, and there wasn't much they could do. But on the power play, I thought that Lysell was really shining. I really like the intensity and high end skill that he brought from that left half wall. Then our second line here for Sweden is Leo Carlsson, 2023 NHL draft eligible at left wing, Philip Bystedt, a San Jose Sharks first rounder at center, and then Oscar Pettersson, a second round pick of the Ottawa Senators at right wing. Now, I believe that this line will work well together. There's three, pretty sizable guys who are able to push the pace. We're able to have soft hands for their size. I think that they're going to be sort of the guys that are matched up to top elements in the top six for opposing teams, especially against guys like Canada and USA. For me, Pettersson was sort of the facilitator on that line. Leo Carlsson was playing really good off the puck. He was protecting pucks really well as well. But there was, I believe, a lack of confidence in his teammates in this game that I think will sort of change with a bit of time. And then the third line for Sweden was Liam Ögren, Noah Östlund, and Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Those three have been playing together for the longest time. They were teammates at the junior 20 level with Djurgården. They were teammates in the SHL, and then subsequently this year in the Allsvenskan as Djurgården got relegated. Those are three very complementary players. Ogden is a very good facilitator, but he's also really good on the forecheck. He has a lot of intensity to him. He can do a bit of everything. He can pass, he can shoot. Östlund is the pure playmaker on that line. He's going to find his teammates wherever they are and feather pucks, play intelligently, move off the puck, and carry the puck up the ice really well. And Lekkerimäki, for me, is a pure goal scorer. One of the best shots in this tournament. A really, really heavy, really accurate release. It does lack some versatility, which is kind of gives me a concern in Lekkerimäki's case. All three of them have been pretty poor this year in terms of their performance offensively, but especially Lekkerimäki, and it's because I don't think he really has anything outside of his shot. So if his shot doesn't translate to the professional level, he's kind of left with not much to work with. But I'm hopeful that in this case he kind of works it out. Either by adding some other layers to his game in different areas, or by improving his shot to a point where it's an unmistakable plus that carries him to the NHL on its own. And then finally, the fourth line was Fabian Wagner, Leo Oskarsson, and Simon Robertson. So those three, I mean, in Robertson, you've got a goal scorer again, a guy who can shoot the lights out. And the other two are pretty sort of finesse players. They play with a lot of, subtle puck skills about them. They're able to stick handle really well, make passes, feather passes through sticks, stuff like that. But For me, Robertson's going to be the main goal scorer, the main producer out of this line. I think out of the three, he's the one that's most likely to rack up points. And then they had William Stromgren as their 13th forward. Stromgren was a pick of the Calgary Flames. Wasn't really impressed with him even prior to being selected to this World Junior roster. I didn't really see him much in this game, but he's probably going to get his chance in the top 12 eventually on this rotation. Then on defense, we have got the first pair of Adam Engstrom and Victor Schulholm. Now, Engstrom was a third-round pick of the Montreal Canadiens in this past draft in 2022. He was sort of hidden behind Kallio Delius on that Djurgården defense core, but now that he's moved to Rögle and is playing SHL minutes, you can see in Engstrom the potential. He's one of the best defenders on that Rögle team. And he's paired to Victor Schulholm, who I haven't watched much of, but he was pretty good in this game, was playing really well off of Engstrom. The two were exchanging pucks really accurately, playing pucks up the ice really intelligently. I didn't see as much activation from Schulholm as I did from Engstrom, and I think it's just because Engstrom is more offensively inclined. But I think that Schulholm does complete him pretty well. They played really well in this game. Then the second pair was Kallio Delius and Ludvig Jansson. Jansson really he gave away a puck that led to a goal against for Sweden. He was paired to Kallio Delius, who isn't necessarily the most responsible defensively either. I think he's lacking a lot of elements in this game. He's got a lot of tools, and I think that's gonna carry him pretty far. But I think that Delius gets limited to the second pair here with Jansson. Then the third pair was Jakob Norén and Hugo Jonasson. I didn't really see much of them. They didn't play much in this game, so I can't really speak too much to what they did or how good they are together. And then the seventh and eighth defensemen are Elias Pettersson, not that one, but he does belong to the Vancouver Canucks. And the other is 2023 NHL draft eligible Axel Sandin Palika. And then in goal for Sweden, we've got Carl Lindbom and Ian Blomqvist. I believe that Carl Lindbom is going to be the starter for this tournament, unless something goes wrong and he starts performing really, really poorly. I think he's the main netminder for Sweden moving forward. So my predictions for this tournament for Team Sweden, first and foremost, I believe that Axel Sandin Palika is going to end up in the top 4 defense core for Sweden. I wasn't impressed with Ludvig Jansson and Hugo Jonasson. Didn't see really much of. I believe that Axel Sandin Palika has the upside, especially offensively, to be able to play in that top 4. He's got a tremendous breakout game. He's really stifling off the rush. He's got amazing mobility. He can skate up and down the ice effortlessly. The only thing missing from his game, in my opinion, is a retrieval game. I believe he struggles with playing with his back to the play. So when he goes to retrieve pucks behind his net, he can get overwhelmed, especially by bigger and stronger forwards who are closing down on him on the forecheck. So that's one thing he can improve in his game. But I believe that his offensive skill, his mobility, and his rush defending, his effort level in all 3 zones is really going to carry him into this top 4 eventually for Sweden. Then moving on, another prediction that I have for this tournament is that Leo Carlsson will get bumped up to first-line center in this tournament. Now, I do like Cranborg. I liked what I saw from him in this game, but I believe that Leo Carlsson has the potential to complement Fabian Lysell and Isaac Rosén extremely well on that first line. I believe that those 3 can do a lot of damage together. So my prediction is Cranborg moves down to the second line and gets replaced by Leo Carlsson. Then another prediction that I have is that Liam Ögren, Noah Östlund, and Jonathan Lekkerimäki will struggle in this tournament and will get split up eventually. I believe that's a very likely possibility in their case. And speaking of which, my next prediction is that Simon Robertson will replace Jonathan Lekkerimäki on that third line. At some point, they're probably going to get tired of those of Lekkerimäki not being up to par on that line, and he might get replaced by Simon Robertson. I think that would be a good fit for Ögren and Östlund if Lekkerimäki does not produce well enough. And I believe that Sweden will miss out on a medal. I think that the other teams in this tournament, like Finland, like Slovakia, even Czechia, you can throw in there. You might get a sleeper out of those 3, and I think that Sweden barely misses out. I think they're going to lose the bronze medal game. That's my prediction for them. But that's going to be it for today's breakdown of Team USA versus Team Sweden's pre-tournament match. Now, if you like what you've been listening to, make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure to make us your first listen of the day. It's always very much appreciated. For your second listen of the day, make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. They've got all of the news and updates that you need about all your favorite leagues. You're gonna make sure you're the smartest person at your water cooler as you go about your day talking to your colleagues about sports. Now, this has been Locked On NHL Prospects. You can find us at LO_NHL Prospects on Twitter. And I've been Hadi Kalakesh. You can find me at HadiK_scouting on Twitter. And I hope you tune in next time.